Hi and welcome, friends. If this is your first time here, my name is Tiffany and I'm the International Witch. Today I am going to be setting up my new journal for 2026. I know I'm a little behind everyone, but that's because this has been the month of unfortunate events, and the most recent being me very sick. So this is my original Leela's journal. I loved the journal. However, I have way too much stuff to put in, and there's just not enough room left in my old journal. So I am putting this one aside, and I have a new journal. And here is my new journal. It is a Tiefossi in the size B5. I find that the B5 is the perfect size for me. I get enough space without it feeling overly large, but it's also not very small. It's like the perfect medium. And I'm also excited because this is the very first blue journal that I've ever gotten. And this particular shade of blue is my favorite color, so I'm very excited to use this. Because the very first page never seems to lay quite right, I'm just going to go ahead and tape these two together and just pretend it doesn't exist. So the look I'm going for in 2026 is more of like a medieval high fantasy. All of my pages and layouts have been me playing with Photoshop and really just having fun. It's nice being able to sit behind a computer and just tweak things until it looks fun and colorful to me. And unfortunately, this journal does have the rounded edges, so I am not going to film myself cutting around each edge for every single page I do, but just know that I am having to do that behind the scenes, and I am not happy about it. The inspiration came from this specific image of a high fantasy artwork of good and evil, light and dark fighting. I have no clue who the actual artist of this is. It was on one of those free wallpaper websites, and it just spoke to the adventure that I wanted to have in my reading in 2026. So if this is yours, let me know, and I promise I will give you credit. I just have no clue who it is, but I used Photoshop and tweaked it until I got the storyline on paper that I really wanted to show. This year is all about making things as simple as possible for myself. Normally, I would draw out a whole library bookcase and try to pencil in all the books, how many I think I would need, and it always becomes kind of a hassle through the year if I didn't create enough books or if I forgot to pencil some in. So this time I just made a picture of a bookcase, and I am going to make stickers of the book spines of the books that I read, and I'm just going to stick them in. So no drawing necessary, and hopefully this will make it a little bit easier on me. And over on the right, you'll see a page that says Books of Growth. These are books that I'm going to read to learn more or to learn about topics that I find interesting throughout the year as more of a scholarly purpose. I'm not sure if you've seen any of the mini videos on YouTube talking about creating your own personal curriculum, but I find it fascinating, especially because I've always enjoyed being a student, so those books will go here. Now, this is the very first time that I will ever have a DNF graveyard in my book, and I'm excited to see how it works out for me. So if you're unfamiliar, the term DNF means did not finish, which means a book was either so bad that you stopped reading it, or it was just boring enough that it couldn't hold your attention for some reason. And I find that I push myself to finish books even whenever I am absolutely miserable, because I always tell myself, well, I can't say it's a bad book because maybe it'll get better. Maybe it'll get better. And by telling myself maybe it'll get better, I spend so much time on books that I don't like instead of spending that time on books that I do. So this year I've trying to push myself that if I am struggling with a book, to just put it down. Reading is supposed to be fun, and if you're forcing yourself, it's not very fun. And on this side is my Book of the Year battle bracket. I'm interested to see what my book of 2026 will be. All right, for the first of my year-long reading challenges, we have the Adventures in Aeldia, which is hosted by Book Roast. We're using the same map that we used last year, so you just pick a new spot to start from and begin the adventure again. Now, I've already seen a lot of people post their planned TBR for the adventure in Aeldia, and they look so beautiful and fascinating, but I'm such a mood reader that there's no way I can do it that far in advance. I have to just take it 1 month at a time. And over on the right is where I'm putting the 2026 adventure board. Throughout the year, Book Roast will post small side quests and books that you can read, and this is where I will put the ones that I complete. The rewards are usually guild points, which I don't follow, but I do still like doing the adventures. My next yearly reading challenge is a year of Goober with Goobers Who Read, led by Jashi Kurin. And over on the left-hand side is all of the prompts. Goober has decided to open up a bakery this year, and for each prompt that you read in a month, he gets to add 1 treat to his bakery repertoire. I think this is absolutely adorable, but I not only wanted to put his little treats on the bookcase, but I also wanted to be able to see the books that I read for each month. So I've decided to make a little flap where on the front I can put his bakery treats, and then when you lift up, you can see exactly which books I read to get that treat. Up next, I have the TBRathon, which is hosted by Leandra, the TBR0. This is the first year that I had heard of TBRathon, and it's really interesting. She has 3 different boards or different ways that you can follow along throughout the year. One is the TBR Explorer, one is Lost in the Library, and then the third one is Map of Stories. I am doing Map of Stories because each location on the map has a type of literary, such as nonfiction, romance, you get the drift. And then within each town, there are 3 prompts. And you can successfully complete a town by completing one of the prompts or by reading the book genre. So it seemed like it was more of the forgiving if I'm having a bad month and I just can't seem to find a book. It's very loose and you can kind of work with what you want. That sounds bad, but I know I'm a mood reader and I know that there are a couple of months where I'm just not in the mood to read a nonfiction. Now, my final book challenge of the year is probably my most ambitious, and that is the Romanceopoly, which is hosted by Under the Covers book blog. This one has a lot of variables, and so I'm not really going to go too in depth on explaining it. They have a whole video for that. But essentially, you're going to a college. You're having to pick classes from literary genres. So you have 5 books you have to read for your core, 5 books that are in your major, 5 books that are in your minor, and then 5 electives, which is 20 books. Then there's also 4 clubs that you can choose from. Each club will add 4 books. And then there are 4 quarterly events, which each quarter will add 4 books to your TBR. So at the end of the year, that's an extra 16 books. So to do all of it will be 40 books, but it is spaced throughout the year. You don't have to read them all at once, with the exception of the quarterly events where you have to read 4 books within 3 months. So it is a lot of books, but I do tend to read a lot of romances, so I'm hopeful that this might be easier than it looks. Okay, now setting up for January. This is images based on my stickers that I purchased from Paper Trail Plans. Once again, the stickers were way too small for me to use on their own, so I scanned them in and brought them into Photoshop and I manipulated them into this scene, and I added a lot of galaxy and watercolors. I wanted to layer it up and make it look like you're in a fantasy world in a garden and it's got lightning bugs and, you know, will-o'-the-wisps and just as magical as I could make it. And because it's January, I wanted to stick with the cooler colors, but it doesn't snow here. So while blue is very common for this cold time of the year, I wanted blue but more of a celestial vibe than a snowy vibe. And now it's time to walk through all the pages that we did together. I hope you had fun just seeing what I'm doing in my journal, and maybe it's the same as you're doing, or maybe it might give you ideas to add to yours. Are you competing in any of the challenges this year? If you're interested in following along and seeing me fill up this journal with books and adventures, then make sure to hit the subscribe button. If you like this video and you think others might want to see it, then please hit that thumbs up. And if you actually made it to the very end, thank you so much. Can you please leave me any emoji down in the bottom? Extra points if it's magical. And here is a video that YouTube thinks you'll like. Love you. Bye.